It's Wednesday. This is the trending show on TBD, and that means it's time for Wemple Wednesday. Today, editor Erik Wemple finds an obscure reference in the New York Times arts coverage and wonders what's up with that. Ladies and gentlemen, here's Erik.
Okay, thanks so much, Mojo. Appreciate the toss. Here we go, right into Fuego, Frio. No time to waste. Let's start yelling. We're starting off this week. Washington diplomat. I'm sure you've seen it around. I want to bring your attention to this one right here. Luxembourg's Louise Ackerblom goes with flow. Goes with flow? Come on, we're in news and journalism here. Are we supposed to highlight the people who don't go with the flow, who go against the flow? The contra flow, sort of like 15th Street? That's news. But diplomat, we're gonna have to put you on the cold side for go with flow. Good news organization, go against the flow, cross current. Next one. Oh, this one's a long one, folks. Settle in for this explanation. Look right here, missed it. This is in the fabulous free-for-all section of the Washington Post. Here was the complaint that comes from Manny and Diane Horowitz, along with one other individual of Silver Spring, Maryland. Here's the complaint to Washington Post from the free-for-all section. We were part of an enthusiastic audience of 5,600 Tony Bennett fans who enjoyed his show at Wolf Trap on August 27th. Not a word appeared in the Post. Who fell asleep? This was a tough one because the people at the labs in Tierra del Fuego Frio called Manny and Diane Horowitz and asked them, I have the lab report right here. Lab report says, oh, both Manny and Diane came to the phone. They were on separate phones talking about their love of Tony Bennett. Unbelievably good, they said. Oh, it was Tony Bennett, my goodness. Why couldn't the Post have covered it? Oh, we just sang along to all those old songs, all the old war horses. This is in the lab report. I'm sorry. At first, I thought I was going to give Manny and Diane a Frio because they were asking too much of the Washington Post. But after talking to them, I'm giving them a Fuego because they're petitioning the newspaper and they've been subscribing for 50 years. 50-year subscriber. If you subscribe for 50 years, you have the right to complain. At the same time, I'm not going to give the Post a Frio because if you think about it, Tony Bennett, in the business for decades, singing at Wolf Trap, not exactly a news moment. Next up, another big one for the people in the labs at Tierra del Fuego Frio, the New York Times Arts and Leisure section. Take a look at this story. On the boardwalk, HBO hangs out with a new mob. Now, when this thing hit touch ground at Tierra del Fuego Frio, the whole place shook. Because listen to this. On a blistering afternoon last June, outside a Polish social club in Greenpoint, men in heavy wool tuxedos with slick back hair and pencil-thin mustaches were blotting their brows. They looked like overheated figures from a Peter Arno drawing. And all of a sudden, our staff went, who's Peter Arno? Who's Peter Arno? Well, we checked with 22 individuals of high education. Not a single one knew who on the earth was Peter Arno. Who's Peter Arno? He's some guy. But he's a reference in the New York Times. Nobody knows who the guy is. That's an obscure reference, so obscure. I don't know, I can barely see anymore, it's so obscure. That's a Frio for the New York Times. Obscure references. Here, at Fuego Frio, we stand against pretentious references. Remember that New York Times Arts and Leisure section. Next one, The Encounter, fabulous community paper. It covers the gentrification plume of the District of Columbia. Here's a little bit from the publisher's desk. On the cover of the July 30th edition of the City paper, it stated that Vincent Gray is a creature of process, followed by the question, is that what DC government needs? Absolutely, says P.L. Wolf. That's on the Fuego side. Nice, concise editorial writing. Good job, Intowner. Love to see you up there. Oh, at the same time, need to set the record straight. There's a historical Frio associated with the Intowner. This is about 6 years ago in a story they didn't show such a great record for concision. Think about this. In a story about a neighborhood dispute, they put the following words in one single sentence. Get prepared, millions of viewers, for one single sentence from the Intowner. Undeterred by the powers of the forces arrayed against them, the active membership of a neighborhood council supported by the Neighborhood Preservation Society and the 2 ANC commissioners have engaged the legal services of the well-known litigator in these matters, Richard Netler of the Robbins, Kaplan, Miller, and Cerasi law firm, to take up the State Department, the City's Department of Consumer Regulatory Affairs, DCRA, and their putative allies, in this instance to argue before the District's Board of Zoning Adjustment, BZA, essentially the meaning of one word in a grandfathering section of the famous federal statute known in the trade as the Foreign Missions Act, a public law crafted by Congress to deal with such matters as foreign missions in neighborhood zone residential. That's one sentence! Hainsworth, shuttle sprints, give me some oxygen. Frio, historical Frio for the in-towner. Moving right along. Dogfish Head, beer, American Beer of the Year. Raison d'être, raison d'être. Le nom d'une bière, raison d'être, comment pourrait-il être? Raison d'être. Je pourrais offrir des noms alternatifs pour une bière comme plaisir, la bière plaisir, la bière joie, quelque chose ainsi. Mais raison d'être, comme qui dirait? Ah, ma raison d'être, c'est bière. Non, 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 ma chose, Frio, foi, pas de feu, foi. Fairfax County Times. Now, here's a publication for you people. Send it down to the labs. I told them, try to find me a Frio in this. We got too much Fuego this week. Well, they looked and looked and looked, and they finally came up with a huge scoop. Look at that picture, folks. They say this is Blue Iguana's char-grilled filet mignon. And the people at Fuego Frio, Tierra del Fuego Frio said, that's not filet mignon, that's salmon, look how pink it is. But we checked with, the labs checked with Blue Iguana, and the guy said that's actually filet mignon, even though it looks pink. Fuego for the Fairfax Times. Okay, next one, New York Times. We're moving fast here. Look at this, headline. Clinton facing a crucial test in peace talks. Crucial test? I'm tired of that. I'm tired of that reference. I'm tired of that phrase. Everything's either a crucial test or a stiff challenge these days. Come on, that's hackneyed prose. Go with something different, like just say it's hard. The only crucial tests out there are the bar exam, the SAT, and the MCAT. That's it. That's the only crucial test. Frio for New York Times, you double up on there. Got to move fast. Russia Now, this sort of propaganda organ that gets tucked into major dailies. Now look at this, Russia Now. Says, first black man elected in Russia. Ooh, first black man elected in Russia. Well, first you want to say, boy, how long did it take him? But democracy's only like 20 years old in Russia. Is that how Fuego Frio? I don't know. I can't figure it out. That's a real tough question. I mean, 20 years. You can barely elect anybody in 20 years anyway. So I'm gonna punt on that one. Camp Biz, still don't have a copy of K-Way. Come through for me, K-Way. That's it. Thanks so much. Next time, more yelling. Love you. Bye.
We love Erik because the crew gets hazardous duty pay, so keep up the great work.